Hey everyone, this is P4L. In today's P4L review, we'll be taking a look at Maketoys Remaster Series. This is their MTRM-09 Downbeat, their version of a masterpiece jazz, obviously. And we're going to start off with packaging review. And as you can see here, very similar to the rest of the remaster line. Nice thick cardboard, nice image of jazz, or I guess downbeat, in both his modes in the front. Let's see him with his smirking face. I don't particularly like that face, but we'll get into that a little bit later. On the bottom, you get some of his accessories, the alternate faces, some other add-ons for like his music or speaker kind of system. On the back here, you get most of the product images. So again, get to see the front and back, as well as his accessories here, and his grappling hook kind of thing. He also comes with a gun. Alright, so very basic, but very nice packaging. Once you actually get that open though, you get this clamshell, this set of instructions, which are not a booklet, it's one of those fold-out style kind of things. You get a couple of accessories, so you get, let's scooch down here a bit. So you get his shoulder cannon, and his pistol, as well as some additional pieces which are hip attachments that go on his robot mode to form kind of his completed sounded up or weaponed out mode. Alright, so out of the clamshell you just open this up, nicely secured. I like this style of clamshell with the kind of buttons that hold everything in place as opposed to the sandwiching everything in place kind of deal. Again, he does come with some additional accessories. These are the speakers. And these can be used both in alt mode and robot mode. Nicely detailed with the silver paint, purple, and white little peg pieces. You get two of those. And again, as we mentioned before, he does get a grappling hook that's actually functional. Has a piece of thread. This one is a little bit different than some other executions of the grappling hook that we've seen or will see, in that it's actually kind of a hand attachment or handgun kind of thing, as opposed to a plug-in or alternate piece that you can swap out with a hand. Coming in close and taking a quick look at the two extra faces, you have the what the Japanese would probably call the crying face, kind of the yelling face. And then you have this smirky face. This one I don't love very much, just because I think the angle of the smirk is just kind of exaggerated. It looks really weird, honestly. That said, the three faces all do look quite nice and all feature this really nicely chromed out eyepiece, a visor piece, which looks really, really nice. So that's it for the accessories at a high level. Let's go ahead and take a look at alt mode. And the alt mode looks pretty phenomenal in most cases. I will say that there are a couple things about it that people have pointed out which are very obvious. The biggest one is this back piece here. This just looks like they forgot something, right? There's just a whole missing bumper here. These little things that hang out on the bottom. I mean... So when we see how these play out in robot mode, you'll see why they kind of exist. But it seems like it was maybe a last minute engineering change or something that they couldn't get figured out, because this was probably supposed to be the bumper. I don't know exactly what the reason is for that, but that is the biggest eyesore. That said, doing a quick 360, the molding itself on this version of the Porsche is really quite nice. It has a lot of paint applications, and the paint applications are more, realistic. I would say, in the sense that, these lines here kind of are realistic. These are pretty realistic. I don't remember if he's supposed to have golded rims or anything like that, but they look really nice. The wheels themselves are rubber, and they're kind of like race car wheels where there's no tread. They're just smooth. Very nicely done. The front, I don't like how there's just holes here. So these are covered up, but there's just holes that you can see straight in. I don't know why they didn't kind of fill those in, or why they even exist. They could have just not had holes there. I'm not sure why those exist. The rear view mirrors are solid plastic, but they're pretty thickly secured, so I wouldn't worry too much about those. It does look like the doors are supposed to open, but you can't actually open them. The way it's designed, they can open up outwards, but only for robot mode. So don't try to pull this out or you're going to break your figure here. Nice little silver paint detailing. Black here is really nice and glossy. So overall, I think this looks quite nice. The underside is pretty well hidden. But yeah, the biggest thing that everyone has a problem with is this rear piece here and some of the kind of undercarriage stuff. It does still roll quite nicely. Let's do a quick comparison before we go into the accessories and so forth. Here is my Streak, who always ends up being the comparison for alt mode, just because he's the extra one I have. Really good scale, I think. About the same length and width. And I think these guys look really, really nice together. I like the smoked out, translucent windows on this as opposed to kind of the blue ones. Some people like the blue kind of quote-unquote cartoon accurate windows that we've seen with some of the Masterpiece figures. I don't particularly like those. I think these look much, much better. So accessories, the only ones that you can really make use of that I found in this mode are these speaker pieces, and they come into the back here and plug into the rear tail lights. Like that. Like that. You can kind of angle them a little bit. But that's from like an episode of the cartoon. They were able to do that. He got like upgrades or something like that. The rest, like the grappling hook, I don't know that there's really any place to put anything. The gun doesn't like have a secret mounting place or anything like that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, these I guess theoretically could plug into the front holes there, but that's really about it. Alt mode does look really nice. So if you look at it from the front, which I think, or the side, I think most people will be okay with it, even with this little bit of kibble here. But on the back, it does look quite awful. So let's get into transformation. This guy has a pretty interesting transformation, very cool. There are some places where you just need to be a little careful for risk of damaging your figure. And so just be mindful of that, okay? So the first thing we'll do is come and kind of separate this rear piece from this front piece here. You can see there's a little slot here, or gap. I found the easiest way to do this is to push down a little bit and then pull out. And you can see why it has little hooks here, hooking tabs. So if you have problems just like pulling it out, just give a little bit of pressure and that will release everything. This is where I kind of deviate from the instructions. I think it's better to go ahead and deal with the lower legs first than the upper body. So let's deal with those first. Go ahead and separate the two halves, like so, and then we'll deal with one of these, each of these one at a time. So the first thing you want to do is come here to the side and release this tab. And what that will do is allow you to bring everything back on this double hinge. And I try to get everything all the way back like this. And the reason being is the first place that's kind of difficult is this, where the legs come out to the side. So once you come in here and open this tab up, you can kind of pull out on the thigh like this. And you do that and rock back on the double hinges so that that flap, that inner thigh flap, clears cleanly. And then you bring that around. There's a tab for the inner thigh here. And then you slide this down. This rear view window is on a slide, and I can slide that down and then tab this in. Some people said that they've had problems with this not tabbing flushly, and they've had to, like, there's a little bit of mold, I guess, flashing that they've cut down on here. I don't have a problem with mine. That said, it doesn't tab in like tightly. It's just more like rests into place. But it sits fine. There's no gap on this one, But if you have a problem, I've seen online people came in here, there's a little ridge, and that they kind of sanded that or filed that down. So your mileage may vary there, just letting you know. From here, I'm going to go ahead and rock up on that double hinge and bring this back. And what you're going to do here is actually push this wheel well kind of looking piece around. There's a small peg here that corresponds to this slot there. So you want to get that all the way around like that, and you'll feel it kind of peg into place. It's kind of an invisible one, so it might be a little difficult for you to find, but once you get it into place, you'll know it's in place. Of course, now that I'm trying to show it to you guys, I'm not being very successful. Come on. There we go. From here, you're going to have these double hinges on the back kind of come in like this. You just want to pull this out for now. Then you can slide this piece up, open this, and get in here with the heel. You need to move this out of the way so you can get access to the heel. And then this foot itself and ankle is a double hinged ankle. So just get it down like this. Once you have all that done, there's two tabs on the rear. You're gonna have this tab that goes into that slot. And then there's another tab here on the black piece that goes into this slot there. Rotate the spoiler down. This is where it kind of deviates from the look of the toy, the original toy. And so tabbing, again, remember to push this in, and then push that tab in. And if you do that correctly, all this should kind of flow as one solid piece. And this is where that weird kibbly piece is. They used it to kind of complete the look of this leg here. So I think maybe they made some design changes or something like that, but that's the biggest issue I have with that piece. Yeah, you just have to make sure that this double hinge is pushed kind of up. So it's at kind of like a 45-degree angle this way, that gray piece in there. So I know that was a long explanation, but people have been having trouble, so I wanted to explain that very clearly. Let's do that a little bit quicker on this side. So again, coming back here, opening this up, coming back on that double hinge, so it's like this. Opening up the tab on the inner thigh, and then pulling out like this, so that this clears through that gap. Tab in the leg, pull this down, tab this into place. There we go. Now we're dealing with the lower leg, pushing this piece in, getting that peg into that hole. Come on, closing that up. Oh, push too hard. There we go. From here, go ahead and release the heel, open this up, and kind of get this down and out on that double hinge. Be careful here. A lot of people have had breakages on this heel piece. It is a thin piece, and if you mistransform it, you might damage this here because it puts a lot of stress on a small piece that's pinned. I know people have broken this, so just be careful. That's why I'm being very mindful of explaining the transformation here. Again, from here, you're going to want to bring the spoiler around, and then bring the rear of the car like this, and then forward so that tabs there, and that tab will align there. Then you can bring the ankle down. And that's the lower body. Alright, so now coming up to the upper body, the first thing we'll do here is separate the bumper, spread these out a bit, just pull them out to the side. What this does is allow you to get this entire kind of front piece out and out of the way. There's also a set of tabs here on the front, like that and that. Once that's done, get this up, tuck in this little centerpiece of the grill, and down and push in here. I do want to say one thing that's really cool about this, and that is a little bit different, is that they didn't make the whole roof translucent plastic and paint it. They did actually make all these pieces, these translucent pieces, inserts, and that saves you from having to color match and stuff like that. It makes it more solid because, you know, these roofs, like on the Masterpiece Lambourne and stuff like that, are usually translucent, all translucent plastic, which is a bit more fragile, and then they try to color match it with varying degrees of success. So doing this obviously includes more pieces. It makes it more expensive probably, but I think it's a higher quality kind of building style. Okay. All right, from here we'll also flip up on the doors. I like to get them kind of like this. It makes them get out of the way a little bit easier. And then from here, we'll just open up these side tabs where the wheels are. You see how they tab into those gray pieces, which are the arms. From here, the way everything's kind of connected, let's bring the head out, is on a double hinge. So the upper body here and the front hood of the car is on a double hinge. Bring that out and out of the way. That allows you to tab these wheel pieces that we just came out of and tab them like that. Now the upper body, where the arms are, you're going to want to pull out on these. So the instructions say you can just pull out cleanly. I feel that you have to stretch out the arm a bit to actually be able to clear. Just be careful, these pieces do feel a little flimsy. And then when you pull these out, you actually have to, they're on a sliding mechanism here, a rail system. Just slide those down all the way to the bottom and going to robot mode. Like that. Right? And that will allow you to bring this whole chest that tabs together, which makes a smaller chest, which is really, really nice. And then that will tab in here. Oh, one thing I forgot to show is there's also two tabs on these shoulder joints. Those go into these tabs here. So make sure to have those kind of straightened out. And those help secure the upper body. Come on. There we go. In conjunction with these two tabs and the red part here. There's the upper body. You can bring out the hood of the car, or not hood, the roof of the car on that double hinge and bring that around and up. There's no tabbing, but it's on a really tight friction, which is good. And then there's just enough gap where you can get the wheel, not the wheels, the doors to slide in. The head is on a series of hinges. Just go ahead and tuck that in. It doesn't tab into place either, but it's tight enough where it's fairly secure. The arms, close these up and then rotate the arms 180 degrees and get the arm straightened out. Rotate the fist 180 degrees. There we go. There we go. And after all that, you have Downbeat in robot mode. And it's a really nice looking robot mode. I think it's pretty well executed. The transformation on the lower legs is a little wonky. And again, I think maybe that's a result of some last minute changes that they did. But let's do a quick 360. As you can see, very cleanly done for the most part. The back here is much cleaner than, you know, kind of the G1 toy, as well as some of the other versions of Jazz, where the spoiler is usually kind of sticking out this way and this whole section is kind of rotated down. But I like this better. It's a lot cleaner looking. But it still keeps a lot of the same look, like the flipped out rear view window being on the top of the calves. So while it's good looking, I think upon closer inspection, some of the issues I have with this are that there are a lot of like random gaps. So like, because of the way this transforms, there's gaps here to allow for these hinges to fit in. So there's actually a gap on either side of this kind of reserved spot for Autobot logo. I feel like maybe it's tampoed in. It definitely has some kind of molding in here, so it's not like a sticker or anything like that. I think I would have preferred it to leave it plain, because now you're gonna have to find a perfect Autobot logo that fits right there, and I'm sure Repro Labels has one that does a pretty suitable job. The other issue I have is that there are other gaps here, underneath here, those gaps on the front of the car that I mentioned before. You can see some gaps here, so it's kind of gappy all around. It's not bad, it's not terrible. The other place here is seeing through the entirety of the chest. At least there's more stuff around here, so it's not terrible. But that's one of the things I find with this figure. It's a lot more gappy than I would like. That said, the overall stance and posture and look looks pretty much spot on and very, very much in line with the old style Masterpiece cars that we've been seeing with, you know, Hasui, like Streak and Lamborn and stuff like that. I think that styling looks really quite nice. The only other issue I have here is this silver looks kind of weird on the chest. Everywhere else is kind of textured silver, but this is just kind of a flat silver and ends up chipping quite a bit. As far as articulation, that's one of the other areas where I have an issue. So let's go into that. So the head is on a ball joint, but then obviously it's on that extra mechanism. So you can make use of that to get some interesting poses should you want to do that. And zooming in really quickly on the head sculpt, I really like the head sculpt. It looks very much like Jazz, the kind of antenna, almost fox ears that he has. Looks spot on. A lot of nice molding in the grill here and the head crest. Really nice. And it does feature the head changing mechanism. Let's scoot back a bit. What you do is just kind of lift up on the helmet itself. You can see the face. You just kind of, the easiest way is to pull up on the chin. And then you can go ahead and replace it with either of the other faces. Just make sure it gets tucked in all the way. You want to make sure it's all the way back. And then you just replace the helmet. Very simple mechanism. No screws or anything like that needed. Very easy, and I thought I might be concerned that this might just slip off, but there's enough friction and tolerance where you're not gonna just have the helmet just fly off, which is nice. So that's a really good part of the figure. The part I had, one of the two parts that where I have issues with articulation are the shoulders. Because of the way the tabs system works for the upper body where the shoulder mechanism connects in, if you rotate anything more than like this much, it starts pushing out because it runs into this little hinge here. It will push out the upper body, and you see, even with just that, it causes the upper body to release. I guess technically you could just leave these hinges out, but then the upper body does not stay connected very solidly. So if you can't do like arms raised, not that you really, I guess, need to have arms raised all the time, but that's kind of an issue for me. Again, you could take this out and do that, but then you're gonna have a fairly loose connecting mechanism. But say if you wanted to do that, you can go ahead and get that out. You can get the shoulder out like this. You do have a bicep swivel that can go all the way around, double jointed elbows, give you about this much range. He has wrist on a swivel, and then he has MP style hands, molded in thumb, and all four fingers are one molded piece that are pinned at the base of the hand, or base of the fingers. He does have that ab crunch that we saw before. It's kind of goofy looking, but it's still nice to have an ab crunch always. He does have a waist swivel. Does run into the backpack there, but you know, more than enough that you would really need. The side pieces hip skirts to the side go up to the front to give you access to those nice ratchets going forward and back and going out. So those are really nice. People are probably going to ask, how's the A stance? One click out, so here's straight. One click out is about shoulder width apart. Just about. So I think it looks fine. He does have thigh swivels. No knee swivel, which I never really understood anyway. He does have double jointed knees. It does break up a bit, so if you want to keep just that kind of look, you can use just the lower one, but the upper one does give you a little bit more than 90 degrees there. His ankles are the other place where I have an issue. Because of all this stuff, you're kind of stuck here. Like, even though he has a separate heel that can articulate a little bit, you're mostly restricted by the fact that this piece is kind of there. So he kind of has to stand a bit flat-footed. He is on a double hinged ankle that can move forward and back, and even a little bit kind of up. And then the whole foot and heel are on a swivel. So you can get a lot going inwards, but again, you're probably going to be somewhat limited by this piece here. A lot of people have been painting these two gray pieces because everyone knows gray pieces are really tough to get smooth, and they usually get swirls, and those are pretty notorious. But a lot of people have been painting this shin and foot. Those are the only places where there's bare gray, so I don't know why they did that. But again, they obviously chose not to do that for some reason. Other articulation. The doors that we talked about before, they can swing out. So if you want to have them directly out to the side to mimic the G1 toy, you can angle them forward, and then you can actually move them a little bit in and out. So the various versions of Jazz sometimes have doors, some don't. I like it without, but it's up to you how you'd like to display your figure. As far as die cast, I know people tend to like to ask about that. I think the thighs are the only part that have die cast that are apparent, and which is nice for kind of stability's sake, and that's kind of one of the places where you hold on to a lot. So that's really quite nice. There's probably some die cast in some of the internal mechanisms, but I'm not really sure. This might be die cast, actually. Yeah, this is die cast. The side of his, what are those called? Obliques, I guess, are die cast. So as far as accessories go, he does have those shoulder mounted speakers. They use these little pegs here. He has the shoulder mounted cannon. This can only be used on his right shoulder, which is kind of a bummer. And then this is really tight. You might have to loosen this screw here to make it a little bit less worrying, but this is okay. And the way it hooks on to the curvature of the hood, the back of the hood. I do have a little bit of concern about that, maybe just because this is so tight. When I move it, it flexes the entire plastic there. So just be careful if you're using it, and because there's no swivel, it's really close to his face, which I don't prefer. Maybe ATP Designs will design an articulating mount or something like that. These side pieces here, these additional speakers, you can see the molded speaker design, have a little tab that go into the slots on the side of his hip skirts. Then this gun has the MP styling tabs. Again, gray plastic. A lot of people have been painting this silver because of swirly plastic. But you can go ahead and use that in either hand. Tabs in fairly securely, even without the fist closing up around it. That looks quite nice. And then lastly is this piece. So this piece, I've heard of people having breakages too. The handle, while it's thickly molded on one side, it's only connected by a small post on this side, and it's really tough to get in. Some people are going to be like, no, other reviewers have been able to get it in. Watch those reviews again, because they're not putting the thing in all the way. They put it in kind of crookedly. They don't actually put it in all the way. So go back and watch some of the reviews. Like even the official one doesn't get this in all the way into where it sits straight. And a lot of people have had breakages with this. Well, maybe not a lot, but I've read, and I'm just concerned about this because, see, it wants to go in crookedly just because it's such a narrow space, and there's not even enough of a gap with the thumb to. So I don't like this piece. I'm almost scared to actually try to put it in. A lot of people say go like this and then rotate it in with the fist, with the fingers. That does kind of work, and I broke it. I knew it. So, well, let's just keep going. Let's just tab that in, and it's supposed to look like this. Now I'm mad just because it's broken. But here, well, I mean, this is a good opportunity, right? Let's turn it into an opportunity. This small post is what connects this side here, while this one is the whole piece, this whole rectangular piece. And just because the tolerances are so tight that it's really hard to get in. Again, if you guys think I'm doing something wrong, please let me know. But I even watched a bunch of videos, and I saw that most people had it in crooked, and not fully in flat. And once you have it in, though, you can wind this up. Grappling hook itself is pretty nicely detailed. Well, maybe that will decide that I'm not going to buy this, or I have to buy this because I broke it. But Maketoys has been doing a new system for getting replacement parts, I think. And apparently they're really fast about that. So that's a positive. Yeah. Anyway, so let's move on. I don't want to harp on that too much. That might have been user error, but again, I felt this before when trying to put it in, that it doesn't feel good. So if you're going to use this, be very, very, very careful. Let's go ahead and get this guy compared with some key figures. Here he is with MP Prow. Really good scale, I think. I think it works really well. Looks nice. Even the styling, I think, works really well. Has some level of detail and not overly simplified. And then here he is with MP10 to give you a full idea of the whole look. So I think in terms of styling, the robot alt mode on this guy looks really, really great. Really in line with what we would have liked to see from the official version if one ever comes out, which I'm sure it will at some point. It's just a matter of when. And there are rumors swirling that there is going to be one, but you know, rumors are rumors, so I wouldn't live or die by, I wouldn't make my purchases live or die by rumors, right? So let's go ahead and get back into alt mode and finish off the review. So the first thing we'll do is deal with the upper body. So I'm going to deal with the upper body first. Go ahead and untab the arms and the shoulders. You can also rock this back. And if you want, go ahead and deal with this now. You can just unravel all that. Get this out and up, because I think that makes everything a little bit easier. And lift this. From here, I'm going to rotate the arms 180 degrees and then the fist 180 degrees. Open this up. And this is going to swing back in on itself like this. So I actually like getting it kind of almost in place, but leaving it a little bit open, because again, you have to get it a little bit open to get it to fill in the gap. So let's do the other side as well. 180 degrees, open this up, 180 degrees on the fist, and then make use of that double jointed elbow to kind of get it into place, but not exactly. So when you open this up, swing this down, you gotta slide these hood pieces apart, but then again, you're on a sliding mechanism for the shoulders on those pins here. So make sure you slide those up. So when you get these in, you're gonna wanna get these, what is it? These molded grill-like pieces, horizontal lines, those should be facing to the bottom. Then you should be able to just get this in like this, yeah. A little bit of finagling, but, oh, and I didn't have the fist closed all the way. There we go. Same thing on this side. Remembering to slide the shoulder joints all the way up like this. Get this around and in, like so. And you're good there. Go ahead and open up these pieces. I'm going to rotate this down. These pieces tend to get in the way, so I kind of like to get them out like this. But yeah, get the double hinge part all the way down like that. We can close this up. Close this. We can close this and tab those in. The head, I like to rotate it back so you don't see it through the windshield, and just sit it like that. Get the doors down to the side, rotate them down like this, and then make use of the double hinge on the roof to get down. Get these tabs in first. Get those down and in, and tab in the front bumper. See? Oh, and if this piece was still down, you can flip that up. Now let's get to the legs. That's the harder part, right? First thing I'll do is untab what's already tabbed. I like untabbing this piece and untabbing this piece, and just getting them kind of out of the way, because the heel has to go in here and it gets kind of interfered with. So let's open up the shin, make use of the double hinges to get the foot in, and then fold the foot in to get the heel in to get cleared there. You can go ahead and rotate this piece. So down here, a bit of a warning, don't just like open this up. You're gonna potentially damage these pieces here on the back. Make use of the hinge so that you pull out like this first and then open up and around. Hopefully that made sense, that description, but you just want to make sure you don't damage the edge here, the sharp edges. Unpeg that little piece that was kind of the filler that went into this piece. Get this all the way back again, and again you want to create that gap so that when you untab this and you collapse this in, you're going to get that clearance here. So once you untab this, make sure to untab the inner part of the leg as well. Swing, it's going to swing through, and again, plenty of clearance there. Oh, I forgot to tell you guys, you have to slide this piece down so that you have enough room. Once you do that, tab that piece in. Use the double hinges here to come all the way up and forward. This will go underneath, right there, and tab in. And then push this piece back in if it rotated out. And that's one half. Do the other half. Again, first thing I do is untab here, and then untab here. Just get this kind of a bit out of the way. Open up the shin. Get this straight in here like that, and then close up the heel. Flip this bumper piece around, or kind of bumper piece. Untab or unpeg this piece here and get it all the way back on that double hinge. Untab this. Untab the inner knee joint slide this back all the way so that when you rotate this in, it clears here, and then you have enough room since you slid back to kind of get like this. Rotate this forward. Oh, sorry, I didn't complete that. Rotate this forward, get it underneath here. The two halves can now peg together. Oh, scooch this up. And then this tabbing system here. So there's tabs here next to the doors and the two on the roof. Just straighten everything out. And again, you might have to just give this a slight push to get it underneath and tabbed in securely. And I think we're good. There we have Downbeat back in his alt mode. So final thoughts. I think both modes look so close to being perfect. There are just small things in each mode that bother me personally a little bit too much, that again, I'm still not sure if I'm going to keep this or not. This here, some of the gaps like here and in robot mode, but overall it's hard not to recommend because he feels like a very solid piece. He has die cast, the transformation is cool, it feels like a quality piece overall. There's just some small things with transformation that are tricky, but you should be okay with if you follow these instructions. But I don't know, there's something about him that makes me not sure that I want to plunge in. Yeah, I can't explain it. I would like to. I want to recommend him. I think if you are looking for an MP Jazz, this is definitely the best one that seems to be available, that is coming out in the near future. Like between Hova and the Toy World one, which is going to be a little big. This one looks like it's probably the best bet and fits in really well in alt mode and robot mode in terms of styling with the official Masterpiece line. But yeah, just something for me is keeping me back, and I can't put my finger on it exactly. Again, be careful with this piece, as I demonstrated. Broke on mine, or at least the sample one. But otherwise, everything else feels really solid. All the accessories feel solid. The head changing mechanism is great as well. Paint's great. I love the collapsing chest mechanism, and I think that's maybe the biggest win for me that makes me want to get this guy for my collection, is that piece. Everyone else seems to have just like the really wide chest that bothers me quite a bit. In any case, I've talked way too long. This review's been way longer than it needs to be for such a small figure. But anyway, if you like the review, please give it a thumbs up and share. Hopefully it helped you out. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if you guys want to add this guy to your collection, go ahead and click on the Toy Dojo link in the description below. Alright, I think that's all for today, everyone. Hope you have a good one.